Welcome to The New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learned and how they have handled their growth. Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the New Monks podcast. In this episode, we have Sensei Shardai, Wonder Woman, Medicine Woman, Mystical Queen, and she shares with us how she overcame depression, which she experienced for a long period of time from her teenage years into her mid-20s, and then stumbling into the medicine kambo one day and using this to heal, and then becoming a healer for other people through the use of kambo. I did a ceremony with her last year with some friends, and it was really, really beautiful. So if you are interested in healing in this way, please do check out her website and her Instagram. She's got a lot of really great things to say. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you so much for being here, or for me allowing me to come here.
Yeah.
To learn more about your journey. And so how we usually start, if you can just take a few deep breaths in and out.
Mm-hmm. Could stay there forever. An hour of breathing.
Love it. And then if you can just tell us how you're feeling right now.
I'm feeling really nourished because we've just had some really beautiful conversations already. And I ate some of my yummy soup that I made myself, which has nourished my body. Feels really nice and warm, and I love having visitors here, so I really appreciate you coming all the way out here.
No problem.
Yeah.
So here is in your little roundhouse.
Yes.
And do you want to just explain a little bit about your home?
Yeah, well, it's a little round house on the woods. So there's like trees. I'm just looking out now at all the trees around. You've seen yourself when you arrived.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful to be held by nature. And it was a real calling to live here, to come out here. Something that we didn't even know would unravel in the way it has. Like, we couldn't have possibly realised that it would be so perfect for us. And something in our hearts opened up when this journey started to move here, and we trusted it, and every day it's revealing itself more and more on why we're here and how amazing it is to be this close to nature. Really feel how held we are. There's more birds coming, there's more acceptance of like, oh, your energy's here and we're okay with it. And we're doing offerings to the trees, which is helping us to connect to the land and to the spirits of the land as well. What's happened here before, and before we moved here, actually, we wrote when we put in the application to live here, we wrote a letter to the spirits of the land to ask permission to come.
Love that.
And also to the heart of the person that was making the decision. So obviously the letters never went anywhere. It was more about us writing them, and so we feel really blessed to be in Mamacita Roundhouse. And her energy, she's got such a beautiful energy, and you've seen the healing room. That we call the womb of the roundhouse, and it's so nurturing to be here, actually, just to be around here.
And what was the calling, like, because you used to live in London?
Yeah. Well, Rob and I wanted to find somewhere that accommodated our needs. So for us to expand in our personal projects, and it just wasn't possible for our monthly budget in London. So we sort of had a conversation about where next, if we are going to live together and expand together and in our own ideas and dreams, like where is that going to be? So we talked about buying land abroad. It felt too soon for that. We talked about living in another city that might be a bit more cost effective, and then that didn't feel right either. And then I think it was Rob that suggested, like, why don't we try just outside of London, so we're still close but not like in London. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's like a whole other universe that's just opened up. It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think about it after that conversation, and then we got back to where I was living at the time, and Rob was beavering away on the computer. And then he just says, babe, look at this house. And I came and saw the roundhouse. I was like, whoa, I've never seen a roundhouse before. Like, I've never seen one. That's amazing. I was like, how did you find it? So his route through to that was, one summer he worked in Lowestoft, which is about 40 miles from here. And it was a summer and it was really nice weather and the people were nice and he just liked it. He really liked the area, the feel of the land. So he literally wrote in Lowestoft plus 40 miles. Wow. And it was the first house that was on the page.
That's so good.
And it had just been uploaded a few hours before. And so he rang up straight away, and there was a open viewing 2 days later. So like everyone could come and have a look at it at the same time. And yeah, we came, and I couldn't have imagined it, that this is where we'd end up. I didn't even know where it was, didn't know what was local. We literally came for the house, or the house chose us to be here, really. She sort of like flagged it so that we felt the calling.
That's so nice. And so you do healings here?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain a bit about what you do basically?
Yeah, so I work with kambo medicine. I've been working for, it's coming up to 7 years.
Wow.
Since I personally started working with kambo, and then I did the training the year later. And wow, what a journey it's been. I've travelled everywhere, serving kambo medicine abroad, India, Italy, Spain, Berlin, all around the UK. And now I'm sort of more settled with my offering. I do it in a more retreat way, so it would be a retreat that's designed for the person and their needs. So there might be some other healings involved. I work a lot with the ancestors. So it really came through the ancestors started working with me in recent years. And it's ancient wisdom. And the more I surrender to that and remove myself out of the way, it just comes through, just like so beautiful.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, no, exactly, goosebumps. And yeah, and so I offer food and sacred flame, and yeah, just always connect to them and do offerings for ancestors. And when I say ancestors, it's our collective ancestors, and it's also the ancestors in our bloodline. So really important when I do healings with people, we really look at like your ancestral line, your bloodline, what patterns have gone through your line that we can heal and release and feel, and what emotions might have been suppressed, that we can access for our greatest good. And so they're really powerful, but also the ancestors of the land. Every mountain, every tree, every lake, river, ocean, is our ancestor. So it's also recognizing that when I say the word ancestor, and the sacred magic that exists in all healing is our. I also see as our ancestor. It's where we've come from. These ancient roots of sitting around the fire, of honouring the fire as our ancestor, honouring the water as our ancestor, honouring the sacredness of life, of every animal, every bird, every other human being, every brother and sister.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
So how did you stumble into kambo and where did you train?
Yeah, so my route into healing was through my own healing journey. So I was on the quest for so long to try and heal myself from depression and suicidal thoughts, anxiety, like you name it.
Really?
I was receiving it, like, you know, they term it the dark night of the soul. That's what it felt like before this journey.
Yeah.
It felt like that was everything was sort of coated in this mist.
How long would you say that was? You went through that dark night of the soul?
From when I was really young.
Really?
Up until like mid-20s.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a full. I mean, there was highlights within that, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't all like that. Like everything is waves.
Yeah.
But the essence of it was I wasn't truly myself, actually, and that caused a lot of disharmony within my being.
Yeah.
And I wasn't acknowledging the feelings and emotions that were within me. So then this depression, gloominess came because what was I depressing? I was depressing all of my grief, my shame, my guilt, everything. But I was also depressing the joy and the love and the compassion and just the knowing of how beautiful it is to exist in this body, to be given the gift of life. I couldn't relate to that in any way, shape or form. And in fact, I spent a lot of time ruminating over not being here anymore and suicidal thoughts, you know, that felt like it was the only way out at times.
Were you on medication and things?
Yeah, so I received some support from like NHS routes of antidepressants and counselling from that realm, and it definitely would have been a stepping stone to get me to where I ended up, but it didn't feel like it really went into the deepest parts of myself, of what I really was requiring and yearning for, you know. And so I would rely on drugs and alcohol a lot to be a certain character, like life and soul of the party, DJ, like I can, you know, I'm having fun, everything's okay, to hide this deep sorrow within.
Yeah.
And I was pretty reckless with my body and with my heart and with my energy. And yeah, I certainly wouldn't change it right now, but that route and the underlying, even though it was all, like I was saying, that it was underlying pain and agony, there was still an underlying hope as well. And at some point that hope just became a little bit more fierce than the pain, and I started to open up to meditation and yoga and things like that, you know, like books that might tell you about what ancient tribes have done to support themselves, and this like calling for my true self came, which I didn't know that it was that at the time. It just was this
curiosity.
Yeah, like imagine like a flower in its bud, you know, and it's just about to open, like to meet itself. It was like that, you know, like I felt that energy around it, and then that led me to going to a festival, which was like it's not like beer and bands, it was green tea and workshops and find out about the land, and there was medicines there.
What was the festival?
I can't remember what it was called now.
Okay.
People keep asking me that. I should probably just research it, but I don't even know. It was so low key.
Okay.
There was only a small amount of people there. It was really
in England.
Yeah, in England. And someone did a talk about kambo, And that's when I first did it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
And this was like in your mid-20s?
Yeah.
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 That's so cool.
Mhm.
And do you want to explain what kambo is a little bit?
Yeah, so kambo is a secretion from a frog in the Amazon.
I love it. It's so random.
Yeah, it's so random. And the secretion is actually poisonous if it's ingested in certain ways. But if it's received on the skin through an open point, then it's received into the lymphatic system, so it's actually a medicine rather than a poison.
It's so crazy how
Yeah.
such a tiny change can completely shift.
Yeah, and it's a very intense ceremony. You have a extreme purge and your body temperature changes, your heart rate changes, you can feel dizzy, and you have a purge, but you don't have any food in your stomach, so it's water and toxins.
And the purge can be throwing up, right?
The purge is throwing up, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Sometimes go in the toilet as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes sweating and crying and
yeah.
however we want to purge, and sometimes we have purges of the mind as well, where our thoughts can come
that's so true.
and release, which are great.
How was your first kambo ceremony?
Well, I think if I compare it to now, when people are going into kambo, there's a lot of information about it on the internet.
Okay.
There's a lot of practitioners, and I didn't know anyone that was practicing kambo at the time. I had never heard about it before.
Yeah.
So when I was sitting around in the circle after agreeing to do it and feeling to do it, something sparked in me. But then I was like catching up with myself and going,
what am I doing?
like, what? We're gonna do what? You know, like I had never heard of anything like that before, so it was so strange, and it was pretty intense. Yeah, because I wasn't used to my body going through something like that. And that night, because I was energetically in such a low place, I didn't feel recovered from it straight away. I went into a bit of a process at the time, and that night I didn't feel that great, and I was thinking to myself, what have I done? You know, what is this? Have I done the right thing?
Yeah.
And then the next morning, still now to this day, there's not been anything like that, because it was my first, such a contrast from being a party girl, having all of those emotions that I was suppressing, to like a cleanse in such an extreme way, and I felt amazing. I was looking in the mirror like, how are my eyes this white and bright, and my body felt so clear. And
when was this?
This was after the first one.
Like a little bit afterwards?
The next morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that night I didn't feel great, and then the next morning I woke up just, could not believe it, and I did it another time that weekend, which I thought I'll never do that again.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I did it, I felt like it lasted for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a mysterious medicine, spirit, energy.
Yeah.
Some people know straight away that they want to come back and go deeper, and some people it's like that's it for a year, or they might not ever receive it again.
Yeah. And
that's why it's not one thing that's going to fit every person. You're so individual. And you're working with a divine intelligence, which might seem strange to say it that way, but that's what I know to be true.
Yeah.
When we work with medicines, we're working with an intelligence that in this body we're not really going to fully understand. Even though we can have a deeper knowing and a deeper trust, we can't understand the magic that can unfold from this work.
Yeah. So from the first time you took it, what happened in between doing the training?
So,
how did you get out of the dark space?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an instant, like, overnight thing, and I guess it's still ongoing, because until our final breath, we're not going to be out of the circle of life and the inevitable ebbs and flows of life. I feel like that is something that I really let go of in this path, and that has been a liberating process in itself, to say I'm not actually trying to get anywhere. There's nowhere to go. So this like chasing for something just isn't there anymore. My energy's around releasing that which isn't serving me, so that my days can be more full, I can be more present with my loved ones, and I can not be running on my shadows as much, and be more able to access the love that I have, that reservoir.
So it sounds like maybe before, when you were in the dark night of the soul, it was like you were looking for something, but then you realised that it was about removing something rather than...
Yeah, well, I feel like when I was in the dark night of the soul, I don't know what I was looking for, to be honest. I was just in like hell, what it felt like, you know, constant thoughts that were really doubt, fear, insecurities, trepidation, you know, agonizing thoughts. You know, I remember at one point just going, just 1 minute, just for 1 minute I'd be someone else, so that I don't have to hear these thoughts. That's what it felt like. So I don't even know what I was searching for, because the most attractive thing then was to not be here anymore, because I didn't know how else to get out of it. Really, if I'm honest, it was like, this has to end, and that is the only way I knew how. That's what seemed to be the only way. So it wasn't until I started the journey that I started to realise that actually looking for something external wasn't the way. It was releasing what's not serving, feeling it, feeling what was not serving me, and honouring it, witnessing it, allowing it, and then allowing it to let it go, or
Love
integrate it, you know, into my being more.
I think that is so important, and I feel like, you know, say a lot of the NHS stuff, it really doesn't give you those tools.
Yeah.
At all.
To be empowered.
Yeah.
Because when someone comes to me, I don't want them to need me as a healer, practitioner, whatever name you want to give it.
Yeah.
I'm someone that's going to hold space for your actualization of your power.
Yeah.
That's it. And your healing journey to unfold.
So true.
And so anything that is external is not empowering you to know that you are enough within. And that's also why eventually I don't feel like we're going to need medicines, because that also in its essence, even though it's more empowering because it takes you to your shadows and your healing journey, it's also an external that you require to get somewhere. And I don't feel like we need anything. It's just we've come a little bit off track as a collective, and I feel like that's why the medicines are here, to help and support us have a collective purge, and then realize that we are absolutely enough. And it doesn't mean that we live isolated because we're all we need. Of course we need connections and love and laughter and joy and explorations and nature, but we understand that everything we ever require is within our own being. And it might just be a little bit blocked or depressed, like it was for me. Everything was depressed, not just the bad stuff but the good stuff too. And that is what I realized, is that okay, so if I start to open my heart and feel, I'm going to have to feel all those uncomfortable emotions, but also it means that I get to explore and experience all of the really beautiful emotions. And how amazing is that? Because that is life honoring both sides of the coin.
So true. I'm so glad that you shared that, and that you have actually had that experience. It's like, it feels like it's a little secret. You know? Like, not many people know. Well, I feel like that anyway. That, you know, actually, if you open up to it, because it's so scary, and like you said, it wasn't overnight. No, and
it requires patience and courage and surrender, because it isn't an overnight thing, and sometimes in those journeys where we may sit in ceremony or we might go there, as it can feel like we have a moment of realization, but the true realization is when you can integrate it and really
that's a big one.
Choose those, choose that every single day, you know?
Yeah.
That's it. It's like I'm in a relationship. I'm trying to be in a conscious relationship. That to me is the biggest ceremony of my life, because how I choose to show up in that is how I choose to show up for myself. How I choose to show up for myself is how I choose to show up with my lover. You know, it's the most important thing to be in right relationship, especially if I want to bring a child into this world. You know, like
preach.
Yeah. It's like that's what I do the work for. I heal myself so I can be that with my lover, and also, you know, is so that I can hold space for others as well. Yeah. I have to do that. I have to look at my stuff. Yeah. And always return there.
Do you know, like, why you had such a dark period growing up?
Oh, I just got goosebumps because I knew what I was about to say. I'm so grateful for it. I am so grateful.
Love that.
For every single moment, and from the most genuine place. I've not always felt like that, and it's still. So this is the paradox, is that I'm grateful, but I'm also like, it was pretty shitty, you know, like there's no denying that. I'm not putting a love and light sticker on it and saying that was all beautiful, because it wasn't.
Yes.
It was exactly what it sounds like. It was really brutal at the time. However, what that has enriched my soul with is something that I could never learn from a book or from another person. It's something that I've walked through. And I've met myself in those moments, and now I can meet another in their moments with full authenticity and empathy. And without me having to even tell my story, someone looks in my eyes and knows I've been there. And then they're more likely to open up to me and to open up to the space that I hold. And that is like I'm getting goosebumps again, is the most beautiful thing. Like, I'm so grateful that I have that wealth of wisdom, because when you go through something yourself, it's wisdom. When you hear it from someone else, it's knowledge.
Yes.
And I've got that wisdom because I was there.
Yeah.
I'm
just like, speechless. But like, was there anything, I know you also talk a lot about ancestral healing as well. For you personally, was there a lot of stuff you had to overcome in this life? Was it a lot in other lives? Funny question.
Yeah, I mean, so in those moments where I was in the dark night, it felt like, I didn't even know what it was to be connected to myself, let alone a tree or a rose or the sky or a spirit, an ancestor or anything, you know, like it was literally that thing of looking out at nature and going, am I dead inside? Because I feel nothing. And now I look out into nature and it's like, I feel like I could dissolve in that moment. It's like if I was only alive to experience this one moment, it is worth it. Like that is the gift of life. Is given to have those moments. So the spirit support came after I had to figure out that I had everything I needed. Like I didn't feel support from spirit at the time, even though now looking back I was always guided.
Okay, got it.
Because we're always guided.
Yeah.
And protected.
Yeah.
But sometimes it needs to feel like we're not, for us to find our own wings, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it. I found the fire within my own heart.
Yeah.
Which is, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go through anything in your childhood that you think would have triggered your dark night of the soul, or not really?
Yeah, well, I think we all do. The more I look into what it takes to nourish and nurture a little being,
Yeah.
the more I realise that no one's doing it
Yeah.
the way that is conducive to a spirit within a human at that age.
Yeah.
But there's no blame there. It's just there's no wisdom, and we are on, like, think about it as a time scale. We're only just now talking about mental health, emotions, like what can happen within a human, this complex creature that we are, and we're only just openly talking about it now. There's still stigma attached to it now. So imagine what it was like when our parents were younger, and then when their parents were younger, and then when their parents were younger, like generations of suppressed emotions, because it's not okay to feel. You're not allowed to feel. Like, when I started doing research about it, I looked at books from the 50s of like how not to show your emotion.
Mad.
Actually in press of like how not to show your emotion, like as if that's a good thing, you know. So when we look at that of like what we require is intimacy, connection, like eye to eye contact, someone really being present with us. Like, who's really present with each other, you know? And especially when we have pain and trauma, and if our parents have got pain and trauma that they're not dealing with, the minute we bring pain and trauma to their door, they're going to shut it away, because it's going to trigger how they feel, and they're keeping a lid on it. It's not safe.
Yeah.
You know, so in that way, I feel like everyone's doing their best. Bless everyone. But I feel like we know another way now, that for us to nurture our children now, the children that are coming, that we know how to better develop their skills, and to really allow them to sit in pain, and allow them, like, that is one of the things, is to hold space for a child to cry and to be angry, instead of shutting it down, instead of saying it's not okay, and then putting a condition on the love. It's only okay if you're smiling and happy, because I can't see my own pain, I can't sit in my own pain. That's a subliminal message that we're getting as a child, you know. So I feel like everyone has a story to tell from their childhood, and I certainly have emotions that were suppressed from then, and yeah, I've been through a massive journey with that. And it's not about blaming, it's going back to that paradox again of like not blaming but honouring the emotions, being angry, being upset about it, but it doesn't mean that we project blame onto another.
Yeah.
You know, how can we honour our truth without blaming another? And that's the path of healing, is to balance through that.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, when you just realise that we're all trying our best.
Oh God, we are all trying our best. And that's the thing, is that when someone can't meet you somewhere, energetically or emotionally, it's all right.
It's
okay. It's coming from their wound as well, you know. Then you have total compassion. You start to see your mother and father as little children, not being nourished in the way that they wanted to be. Then you see your grandparents as little children, not being nourished in the way they wanted to be. Like, and there's this whole scale of what it means to not be nourished. You know, there's a whole scale from the darker stuff to just being ignored, or, you know, being told to be quiet when you're crying. Like, there's so much that for us to feel, that no wonder we depress it. It's overwhelming, because it's generations of not feeling, and generations of people doing their best. That's also it. From what everyone's got, they're doing their best. And that's where the compassion comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was blank. Yeah, I guess, like you say, it's a collective thing as well.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, particular story or paradigm that you feel like really affected you a lot, and then you broke free from it, that you'd like to share?
Oh God, there's loads, so it's like whether I want to share or not.
Okay.
And I guess what's really prevalent at the minute, because of the program that I'm doing, is the addiction. I'm really holding space for that story. And because I've been there myself, of like what it means to be addicted, and what the scale of that as well. So there's people on my course at the minute, and it's gone from one person that had addictions around cocaine, someone addictions around sabotaging, and someone with addictions around doubting themselves and avoiding. So you can imagine when you're willing to look at it like that, then as a collective, a lot of us are in addictive patterns. And it's not saying addiction is in a dirty word, you know, like I'm using it in a word of like, let's take responsibility and empower ourselves through that, through the ability to respond to what's going on. Let's feel empowered to say that I can sit in this, that I've got addictive patterns around this story or around this external thing. You know, it's again that realization that I had about nothing external can satisfy that deep yearning within. And there is the deepest yearnings for remembering who we are, really truly remembering who we are. And that is why I took drugs, and because I wanted to connect to people, I wanted to cuddle people, I wanted the barriers to come down, and I wanted to be in total sync, unity. Like, it's given me goosebumps. Like those nights on the dance floor, those sunrises.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
Yeah, because where are we getting that in our society? We're not creating that moment of like connection, circle, tribe, unity, that love and vibration where the walls drop and we say it's okay for us to feel and to be who we are, to be intimate with another. My God, how intimate. You could meet someone one night and know them. And that beautiful connection, because you're not trying to be anything else, you meet where you are. But then the shadow sides of drug taking is that they do become addictive. Not the drug itself, I do believe that's the personalities, because sometimes we are using it to numb. I certainly was like, wow, for the next 5 hours I'm not going to feel any of those thoughts that are in my mind. And that was one of the attractions to do it. Let's get so obliterated that I just don't have to feel anymore. I don't have to be me. Escapism. And then when does that stop? Then it comes into the midweek, and then you're wanting to always be in this state, which suddenly has consequences. You know, there is consequences for that, and then your shadows come out in those moments as well, and your healing comes out, and you're not being held in that space. It's not supportive for that to come.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, so then the balance is sort of tipped on it being more of a detrimental like attachment. And I've looked at it, and I believe that a lot of it stems from us not having a rites of passage as a teenager, and us just going like, what am I actually, who am I, what am I doing? There's been no route into manhood or womanhood. So there would have been a red tent. I don't know if you're familiar with the red tent, but where all women would have been together around the moon, and they would be bleeding. Some girls would be starting their flow, some women would be pregnant, some would be giving birth, some would be stopping their bleed. And all of this would be together, and they'd talk about it and talk about their feelings and their emotions. Because when a woman bleeds, she's really lifting the veil to her unconscious. And no wonder we get called crazy, because our subconscious is literally coming to the forefront. The veil is so thin, and we feel the earth deeply, and we release the emotions of the tribe that we're in if through our bleed. And this is a very confusing time, and in those moments when we had that support from all generations, the sisterhood, we would have been able to step into womanhood without the shame and the confusion of what does it mean to be a woman, what's this sexual feeling, how do I harness it, how do I respect my body and my needs, and how do I have the courage to stay true to who I am and not give this precious energy away. You know, where do we learn that? Because I was a teenager of like, what do I do with this sexual energy? I don't know what to do with it. And the ideas of pleasing another, pleasing the man, or giving into what yourself needs for the other. And then the young boys would go on a vision quest, and they'd come back sometimes being called a different name. So that represents that they've stepped into manhood. And I feel like we're yearning for our own rites of passage. And actually what I've seen from working with medicines is that it's actually happening. Usually now what I'm seeing is a correlation of people when they get to 30, is that there's a rites of passage, and now this is when people may be going into deeper exploration into themselves.
I feel that's true.
The spiritual journey, but it would have happened a lot sooner. And so then we're getting to this point of, you know, we've probably taken drugs or partied or didn't, you know, not grown up for that amount of time because we're a little bit lost.
Yeah.
And that's where the compassion comes in for that. You know, there's no blame here, or like drugs are evil, or, you know, I really don't feel like it's the thing. We don't focus on the thing in the course. We focus on why it is that you're choosing to do that thing.
Yeah, which is the underlying.
Which is it.
Yeah.
And it's that, like, because food is the most beautiful thing, but that can be misused, and that can kill you.
Yeah.
So it's really not focusing on that. Like a drug, someone could take it or leave it. But if you're hiding your pain through that, then it might become something that isn't really beneficial for you and your growth.
How did you make that transition from being the party girl?
Yeah. So I was thinking about the other day, my first ever dry January was probably 2010 or 2011. And it was like, I remember people's faces when I said I wasn't drinking for a month. It was like, whoa. And I knew I needed to do that because I needed to know that I could. That's how much I was relying on it, craving it or wanting it. And then it just was sort of a process from there. But definitely when I started with kambo, that helped a lot, like huge. And actually what happened was, when I was in alignment and closer to myself, I didn't need anything else. You know, like I didn't want to not be me. So then why would I want something that makes me feel like I'm not myself? You know, it just wasn't an attractive option anymore.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So flipped around.
Yeah, exactly. Because you ask yourself, what if we don't stop and ask ourselves, why am I doing that thing I do? That's what's in the course, and I've got the course book that you get with it is, why are you doing the thing you do? What is it giving you? What is it nourishing within you? Because it's doing something good, even though it might be on a surface level, but it's giving you something that you want, or that you need, or that you are yearning for. And that is what it was given me, was like an opportunity to be someone else, or to escape my problems, have more confidence, put on a mask, be someone else for that night or that day, and yeah, if we can ask that question with anything that we do, you know, it's a journey. Because once you realize that, like, you don't need drugs and alcohol anymore, it's like, well, why do I need a cake? Why do I need to buy that outfit? Why do I need to speak to that person? Why do I need a relationship that's not good for me? Why do I need a friendship that's not serving me? You know, then why do I need this attention of my mum, or approval of parents? Then you start to question everything, and that's a really great journey.
Yeah.
Why are we not questioning these things?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to let them go. Like, it's not the end, but it's really beautiful to ask, you know, why do we do the things we do?
That's it. Yeah, because in that process you're making the unconscious conscious.
Sure.
Bring it in.
Bring it in. It's scary though, I really get it, you know. It's not the easy road, this path. It takes courage to look. And to say, I'm going to look at my bullshit, basically.
Literally.
Yeah. Like, I can't blame anyone else either. And that's one thing, is that
responsibility.
when I was depressed, I wanted to blame the whole world for it, you know? And that doesn't, and like I said before, going back to that about, we don't blame, but we honour what's happened. And what was happening before is that I wanted to blame, and I wasn't honouring the emotions. So I was suppressing the emotions, but then blaming. Whereas the healing journey says, let's bring the emotions out, but not blame. Let's take responsibility for what we can do now.
Yeah.
And how empowering is that?
Yeah. It sounds like that knowledge just kind of came to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things on the journey that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Like, that's where this deeper surrender and trust comes in. Because, and there's also a lot of it that just sounds really out there until you've walked it. Like, there's a lot of things I could sit here and talk about.
Yeah.
But until there's a resonance, you're going to be like, it's another story from a weirdo that's like works with a frog, you know? Like, that's, I'm so aware of that as well. Aware of it. You know, that it's too out there.
Yeah.
But when it's when you walk that, there's a knowing that you couldn't explain to someone. Someone says, how do you know? Did someone tell you? No, I just know. But how do you know? Did someone come into... No, like, it's not like that. Someone doesn't come and say, oh, this is how the universe works and this is what you're doing. There's a deeper understanding and knowing that you feel in your bones of like, oh, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is ancient.
Yeah.
This is ancestral. This is been in my blood and bones for lifetimes.
And then I guess also you walk the path.
And then you walk the path.
Do it.
And then integrity comes in.
Yeah.
And that's when you choose every day whether you work and whether you walk the path.
That's so true. Yeah.
And do you choose it? And also, we're meant to be human as well.
That was like a release.
Like, oh my God, for that you should. We're meant to be human as well, you know. We're meant to make mistakes, and walking the path doesn't say that I am doing everything great. It's saying that if I make mistakes, I will return to that place.
No, that's really good. I like that.
I will return to love. I will return to the path, you know. I will go... The natives say that stay close to the fire, you know, like if you wander off, you don't know what's going to be out there. Stay close to the fire.
That's really nice.
And so that's it, you know, staying close to the fire that we have that burns eternally within our hearts. That I will always return back to who I am now. I have that wisdom. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get lost. And even though I'm the space holder, there is this projection or expectation that you're going to have it all sorted. And there's some areas of my life I've got completely sorted in this moment, and some are a bit more messy because I'm human. And I've got a lifetime of this stuff, like everyone else.
So true. Got a lifetime to figure it out.
Yeah, and to be and to live and to honour it. And I think a lot of it actually reflecting it is learning to be able to sit in the discomfort and pain. And instead of going like, oh, there's an uncomfortable emotion, I don't know what it is, oh, I'm just going to eat this cake, or I'll just put Netflix on, or, you know, I'll just call someone up who will soothe me. It's like, could we in that moment, sometimes those other things are cool and sometimes we allow ourselves to go there, but is there an opportunity to go, hold on, I'm going to sit in this and see what it has to say? Great. Feel it, you know, allow it to come.
Yeah. Big.
Be with ourselves.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about how you stumbled into training in kambo?
Yeah, so I knew from the beginning when I heard about it that it wasn't, like, something sparked in me, but it wasn't a want. I knew even then that it wasn't going to be something that was like, I want to do it, therefore I will. It just felt totally different to that. this work, it felt like the calling would have to unravel itself if it was meant to be on my path. And so the lady who trained me actually was meant to be having an assistant who was my friend, who was going to assist her on the course and also building a retreat and looking after it while there was other retreats going there. So building the retreat as in like the house, and then other people were going there to do different work throughout the summer, and she needed an assistant. It was going to be my friend, and then she couldn't do it, so I literally got a call saying, do you want to be the assistant and you would get to do the course? And it was like, how can I deny that? At the time I was living back with my dad, my relationship was a bit on the edge, and I was working in a coffee shop, and I just felt like everything had sort of crumbled, and that this path revealed itself to me just so naturally.
How many times had you experimented with kambo before that? Do you remember?
Oh God, I don't remember. It was a year before. It was almost like a year to the day where I first did kambo, just over. Then I did my training. I can't remember. I know I did it a lot during the training as well, so.
Yeah, okay.
And it was something that was so natural, and that summer changed my life, really. Opened me up in so many ways and split me in two, and you know, my heart broke open. That's what happened. It felt so painful at times. It was all of those feelings that were wanting to be witnessed and wanting space.
Yeah. What was I going to ask you now?
We were talking about so much, it's like, how do we
choose
one thing to go with?
That's so true. Oh yeah, what were you doing before? So at one point you were working in a coffee shop? Yeah,
so that was when I went back to my dad's house.
Yeah.
Before that I was at uni. I went back to uni in London. That's what brought me to London.
What did you study?
English language and literature. And then before that I was doing meditation classes and stuff like that. And I worked in retail a lot, before. And travelled around. Didn't really know who I was, so I was like travelling around, living the party lifestyle, putting the party lifestyle above anything else, basically.
But you learnt a lot though.
I learned a lot. Yeah, exactly. Wow, yeah.
Love it. So I'm gonna ask just maybe a couple of questions to conclude.
Yeah.
What does self-love mean to you?
Well, a lot of things, but let me try and tie it up in a little present. Self-love for me is owning your shit.
Love it.
Like, actually, not bypassing it, not condemning yourself for it, but owning it and respecting it. And the times I've felt love for myself the most is when I'm like, yeah, I get angry. Yeah, I've got this shadow, but that's me and I'm okay with that. I've also got this beauty in me, and I've got this amazing thing. It's like to not deny the parts of you, the light and the shadow. To definitely keep checking in. Who am I? Why am I doing this? Where's it coming from?
Back to the fire.
Back to the fire. Always going back to the fire, and being able to hold yourself accountable, and actually like knowing who you are. When you know who you are, you cannot not love yourself. Basically, it's impossible to not love who you are, like. Because you know your essence, you know where you've come from, you know that you're a part of this life. You are the tree that you're looking at, you are the rose, you are the earth that you're standing on, you are the energy that you feel. That's when you can love yourself fully, because there's not another thing that you can't love. You can have discernment, You don't have to be around everyone when people aren't in alignment with what feels good for you, but you can still love them. And that's what I feel like true love is. True love is that, like, I can see warts and all, but I can have discernment and boundaries.
Love that. Whole definition there.
Yeah.
Very whole.
I'm glad I got it into that little, like... Yeah, great.
And then you meant, obviously, Canva's been such an important thing for you. Is there anything else you think that helped you through transitioning?
Yeah, I've worked with most medicines out there. When I've been travelling, I've worked with ayahuasca and peyote, iboga and mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
And bufo as well. And then definitely not for everyone.
Yeah.
They've been helpful on my path. I also seen how they're being abused as well. So I really pray that the integrity can stay with these beautiful medicines, these sacred medicines. And I can only pray that one day we see more ceremonies on this land, because there is a rich history of ceremony in this land. You know, it's not just in Mexico and Peru and Africa, you know, it's on this land. And I really feel that the trees are speaking to me about the magic that's held here. And, you know, maybe one day we will see mushroom ceremonies coming back, and this ancient knowledge and ancestral wisdom coming through, that magic and that possibility, you know. It feels strange that we've forgotten who we are and the tools that we have here and what this land holds, you know. So although the rest of the world has beauty and wisdom, and the medicines from there are absolutely amazing, I also believe that now's the time for the mushrooms of our land to come and speak and to be heard. And to work through the medicine men and women on this earth. You know, the earth that's the UK. And there's so many sacred sites that are literally calling, their ancestral wisdom is calling for us to wake up to their power. And the pilgrimages are coming, and you know, mother's sending her children. Helping us to rise.
I guess they always say that, like, mushrooms have a network below the ground.
Yeah,
so
mycelium.
Like,
yeah, and this is how I feel like we can communicate. I don't even feel like we need to ingest them.
Wow.
I feel like we can also communicate and learn through them on that way. But maybe the day will come where we can ingest them with safety, you know, in a sacred space, with someone who can hold you to go there and to learn more about who you are, about your psyche, about the ancient wisdom that flows through our blood. You know?
I feel like there are so many different routes, like, just in general, on this journey of, I don't even know what to call it, realising who we really are.
Remembering who we are.
And then I think a lot of people, there's a lot of discussion, I think, on specifically, like, plant medicines and like, do you really need them? You did touch on it earlier a little bit. I don't know, do you want to share maybe a little?
I don't think we really need anything.
Oh, damn!
Like, that for a start, I feel like, and with kambo, when I work with people, I do want to check in that they are feeling or sensing that this is a tool to divert them back to who they are and to their magic. If someone's coming to me of like, I need this to do that, it's like I will redirect them to say that they have everything they need and that we can use these tools. But not everyone who calls me up is suitable to work with kambo or with other medicines, so it's not the route for everyone.
Okay.
And I don't feel like there is one route that's going to fit all. And especially with things and bless the people that are across the world that work with the more psychoactive plants like ayahuasca and bufo and peyote and mushrooms and San Pedro as well, also and iboga. It is a huge responsibility. In this body we have one psyche, and it is absolutely huge. Some people are coming to me now for me to offer energy healings and support when they've gone to a ceremony maybe in another country and they've not been held in a way that's supported their soul's journey, and they're feeling a bit fractured or lost, and I'm really seeing how some people, unfortunately, like it's going to happen with everything, aren't working with integrity. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I feel like one of my suggestions would be to, yeah, you hear about your friend having a great trip or journey, or this was really healing. Like, okay, take in what they're saying, and then you might meet the healer and take in what they're saying, but never ever put someone else's experience or opinions above what's happening within your heart, because deep down, if you're still enough for long enough, you will know what's right for you. And what I've seen is the hardest thing is when someone's done something and they always say, I knew I shouldn't have done it, I knew it wasn't right for me, I followed a friend, or the healer said this, and it wasn't right, and they knew it. And
that.
I say that even to people that want to work with me, you know, like, go away and feel how it feels in your body. Like, now you've heard my voice, or now we've had this connection, you know, don't just jump into it. And we've got to have that respect for ourselves and respect for this sacred medicine. It's that's what it comes down to, is like not just jumping in. I heard about people ordering kambo from the internet and doing it themselves. I mean, I cried when I heard that, just thinking, like, how can you want to abuse yourself or take that risk, and also the sacred medicine. So it's a time of extremes in all of the world. So of course we're going to see that reflected in the medicine world as well.
That's true.
Of course, you know. So I think it's I pray for the integrity of this work, but always hear your heart's call, because that will be guiding you, absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing that I know you talk about a lot is integration.
Yeah.
Do you want to say a little bit?
Yeah, and for sure now, more and more, it's like, if you haven't got time to do the integration, I don't know if you should be doing the work in those nights. Because
doing the ceremony.
Ceremony, yeah. If you haven't got time to integrate it, then I'm not sure it's the right time. Because, okay, so one way is that you can go and have a ceremony and it's an experience, and it's amazing, or it's really healing, or it's showing you the hell realms, or whatever it is, and that's an experience in that moment. And in that safety, or that, well, we hope safety and sacred space that's being held for you, it's okay to move through these emotions and these feelings, because you're held by a tribe. Usually you're in a circle, there's a few people there, and there's some healers there, and there's someone holding the space who knows the medicine that they're working with. What happens when it's Monday morning and you've got to get up for work, and you've had a memory at the weekend and you're not sure what to do with it, and you're overwhelmed? What then? What happens on Wednesday when the flashbacks come back and you're not with the tribe anymore and you're alone in your flat? What happens when you're on a tube and you're remembering or replaying the things that happened that last weekend, or you're not in your body, or you haven't returned yet? You know, what then? It's like, we need to be able to embody the teachings so that they become tangible. Otherwise it's another experience that could quite possibly be too overwhelming for you. And then we ask the question, is that helpful? Because healing is only healing if it's actually helpful. It's not always going to be helpful just because it's a medicine and it's been used for years, and this person says that and that person says that.
And it doesn't just happen in one moment.
No. It's a journey,
Yeah.
and you don't know if having this ceremony is the one that's going to open you up for 6 months and send you on a healing crisis,
Yeah.
which is very possible.
Yeah.
So possible. A year long, 2 years long, if you've got children
So true.
or responsibilities or a job that you couldn't just leave, then what then, you know? Like, you're
so true.
opening yourself up. You know, I had... I listened to a podcast, I'm not going to remember the name. He's an amazing guy and he talks about psychedelics really great. And he says, you know, people assume that I'm doing psychedelics all of the time. He's like, I'm not. I've got a life that I'm responsible for. And if I entered into psychedelics, I've got to know that I can create space for whatever comes up. It might be a week-long process, it might be a month-long, it might be 6 months. And at this moment in time, I can't afford to do that for my job, for the nephew that I look after, and for the responsibilities that I have. And that's really self-love. Talk about self-love, that's it. Because the other way is getting yourself in a mess and not knowing how to cope. Then having to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
And then who do you trust to do that with, you know? So it's a massive responsibility, and I've seen it a lot, you know, where it's brought up. And beyond that, say if you could take 6 months off, that is a really great thing to go into as well.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful thing. If you could go off and have time out and take that, I would say go into it for sure. But if you've got responsibilities, it might be the one that does that, and it might not be appropriate for you in this moment. But then also sometimes it's not like that. It's just that to be really self-aware and mindful of all of the possibilities that could happen.
Yeah. And I guess like how we're gonna continue healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And understanding and integrating the healing so that it is something that is life-changing. It is changing your life daily.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
exactly.
It's an experience that's overwhelmed, that's not actually helpful and supportive to your life now.
Yeah.
You've got a life now. You can't just flip that up.
Yeah.
Some people want to, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's a personal choice, and
Yeah.
it's good to know that.
I like that. I think it's important. It's not just about what happens in that one moment.
Yeah.
It's just as much about everything outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. I feel like we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, me too. It's been so nice. Thank you
Yeah,
for hearing
so
me.
nice.
And
Thank you.
it's beautiful to be able to share. It just feels so
Yeah.
natural
Nice.
to chat to you like this, and a little bit
Good.
weirder with the camera. But I
Yeah.
love talking to you, Jess. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been, I think the language you use as well, I really appreciate it, because it's not filled with like all of these words that can be quite confusing. Like, I don't think you ever mentioned ego, you know, like
Yeah.
people talk about that a lot,
Yeah,
but it was just very easy to understand.
yeah,
And so, like, especially when you started talking about your heart and self-love.
Yeah.
it was-
it needs
Yeah.
to be easy to understand. Don't want to overcomplicate
I
things.
think
There's
that
already
is-
enough going on. Like, give us a break.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else? Thank you so much.
Just so much love, and because I've touched on the addictions and my mental health, I'd like to put a prayer out there to all of those who are feeling like that right now. Blessing your hearts and blessing your journey and honouring your journey, and may you find support. And yeah, feel free to open up to me also, but I just pray for all of you in this moment, blessing your lives.
Oh.
Come to the fire.
Yes. And then do you want to just say where we can find you?
Okay, I didn't think about that. It's like Instagram, this one. Yeah, so
Thank you.
Shardai Lynn Healing. There might be an underscore somewhere.
I'll put it in the notes.
Put it in the
Yeah.
notes basically, and yeah, through that you could find my email,
Awesome.
I think, and there's a website, shardailyn.com.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sister. Yay!